Wall ovens. Ovens go on the ground, not the wall. What, you think your oven is too good for gravity? Pretentious minimalists. Oh shit, it's literally raining men in this shot. Or rather, man. It's raining man. I don't know what to make of this dandelion blowing its seeds out into the world, except maybe it's the movie's metaphor for men distributing their seed everywhere and creating other nasty weeds we'll never uproot. You see, a dandelion, like a man, is... Are you looking for meaning in movies again? That's it. I'm taking your dog bowl away. Anyway, dandelions are stupid, and it's up they put one in this movie. Dicks. Our protagonist, Harper, is driving down that lonely road where reality becomes unreality, and she'll be stuck in an alternate world full of symbolism that directly relates to the trauma she's experiencing. She thinks it will be a getaway where she can have some quality alone time, but that's just a massive trick. Oh, sure, the house she's driving to will seem like the one she's rented on Airbnb, but it will be a journey into her own psyche. In other words, her GPS is a total piece of shit. Driving. More driving. Still driving. Excitement? The director said, let's have your character pick and eat an apple from a tree that isn't yours without permission. It'll make you look like even more of an Eve. Also, eating fruit without rinsing it off first. Do you know what has been on that apple? Probably pesticides. Or maybe even some bird shit. Also, movie's biblical metaphor doesn't contain even one cherubim. Oh shit! It's that dude from the 007 movies who has relations with that pig in the first episode of Black Mirror. At least, I think that's how he likes to be introduced at parties. Penis clock. Men are responsible for some of the most reprehensible sins in this movie, but very high on the list is leaving these two hooks unused. There's plenty of pots crammed onto the shelf above. Pick two and put them on these free hooks so it isn't as cluttered, assholes.
Apple from the garden?
Yeah, it was delicious.
First off, you aren't even done with that apple. If you're gonna steal an apple off a tree, you might as well finish it. Second off, if you are done with the apple, then why not throw it away?
Scrumping, eh? No. Mustn't do that. Forbidden fruit.
Jeffrey says he's joking, like 2 seconds later, but too late. I got a sin loaded up and ready to go, and there's nothing we can do about it. The only fruit that's forbidden is durian, and that's because serving them is a war crime. Also, I find it extremely bizarre that the word scrumping literally means to steal fruit off trees, and it's troubling to me that anyone has it in their vocabulary.
Do you play the piano?
No.
But later we'll find out that she does play the piano. And I'm giving a sin to anyone who lies about this, because that means they're stiffing someone out of a free concert. That was in the ironclad Airbnb contract, Harper. I hope all the men look like Rory Kinnear from this point on.
I think I might have splashed out just a little bit too much.
So a woman travels to the English countryside after something emotional concerning her relationship happens, renting a posh home to escape from it all. You can't fool me, movie. This is The Boy all over again. Except this time you're calling it Men, because the twist here is there are two grown-up boys living behind the walls. It'll be the double impact of horror films. Let's just hope Jean-Claude Van Damme had the guts to take Alex Garland's call.
I asked about James, actually.
That is a very odd way to put it. I mean, he asked where your husband was because you used Mrs. on the form. But the way you just said it makes it sound like you, Jeffrey, and your husband have tea together every Saturday.
And it's...
Boost Mobile. I like how every time this movie flashes back to Harper and James at their house, it looks like they're in lockdown, bathed in red light until the Godzilla attack is over. 3.5 minutes of walking and nature porn. Okay, before we get much further, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. This film is beautifully shot. Rob Hardy did an amazing job on the cinematography here, just like he did in Annihilation. The framing for shots like this is haunting. It quickly establishes a feeling of isolation. So go ahead and take one sin back before I catch Harper eating another apple. Going anywhere in England without an umbrella. I don't care what time of day, what season, or what you're wearing. You should never be caught off guard by precipitation in the UK. Perpetual drizzle is their whole thing. In fact, Britain used to be connected to Europe by land, but it rained so much the place became an island. So there's your history lesson for today. That place makes Portland, Oregon look like a desert. It seems to me that Harper is only happy when it rains, and that is some total garbage. Nothing much is happening, so I'm going to take a moment here to interpret this tunnel scene. You see, I think this tunnel represents rebirth. Harper must successfully navigate the tunnel to truly be reborn. But along her path, she gets sidetracked by singing in the tunnel and listening to the cool echoes. Her echoes awaken a man at the end of the tunnel who prevents her rebirth, thereby prolonging her journey. What I find fascinating is... Hey you, what are you doing? Get back to setting this movie, face, or you're going to the hole. Anyway, this tunnel scene is boring and a huge waste of time. I haven't been this bored since the mutant bear scene in Annihilation. Starting a band with a tunnel. Harper's singing somehow creates a 28 days later situation. Look, I don't know what this dandelion seed is supposed to represent, but all this focus on nature and the sudden horror elements that have been introduced makes me think we're watching the British version of The Happening. Jesus Christ, we're still walking through the woods? The village didn't have this much forest in it. Oh good, now we've traded walking in the woods for walking in a field. Is anything gonna happen in this movie? Because if we're just watching an English woman walking through nature, I'd like to swap out Jessie Buckley for Philomena Kunk. Aw, man, what terrible luck. You just hang out at your private residence and then some tourist starts snapping pictures right when you go out for a naked stroll. I guess you could say he was really on the fence about that divorce. God, this movie is bumming me out. Holy shit, Harper totally revenge porned that guy. Also, looking at the text messages, Riley writes OMG to the picture Harper sent. But just before that, she writes OMG for absolutely no reason whatsoever. Harper's previous text says something like 10 minutes, and then Riley responds with okay, but then with absolutely no prompt writes OMG way later. Also writing okay back to someone on a text. Whoa there, Harper. You're gonna zoom in on this picture? Do we need to break out the divinals for this scene or what? And honestly, of all the nude men you could look at while you're in the bathtub, you choose creepy field guy? Are there no shirtless pics of Chris Pine available? Because he's who I usually... So we see Harper brushing her teeth in green pajamas here, and in the next scene, she's sitting down in a pink dress to play the piano here. I'm not saying that's a continuity error, but I am saying that watching her brush her teeth was completely unnecessary. If you took out all the nature shots, this movie would be 20 minutes long. And that's fine. I like a good short film. But don't pad your movie to inflate the runtime and hit feature presentation length. If I see this anymore, I'm just going to start calling this movie It Borrows.
I'm ready for that tour you promised me.
Harper did not promise you a tour. You asked her for one, and she said not right now because she just arrived at the property. There's probably pictures of the vacation rental online. Stop being lazy and Google it. God, Americans are the worst. Watch out, guys. Jehovah's Witnessing has gotten a whole lot sexier.
You'll notice the beautiful patina on the flagstone floor.
Forcing me to look up what patina means.
It's a blue Ford Fiesta registration, CK61LZM.
Having your license plate memorized. What a dork. If I need to fill out paperwork that asks for mine, I have to walk out to the garage and check it like God intended. I don't understand. Is the movie saying that the naked guy opened the door and then just stood there? And then only after she closes the door, that's when he tries to grab her through the mail slot? Oh my God, Harper, turn around. He's going to... Oh, it's a flashback.
I saw him yesterday.
You've got a picture, remember? Show her the picture. You showed your best friend, so surely you can show the police officer. Church. Fitting that in a movie called Men, they have a shelf for hymns, but no shelf for hers. So all the men in the village look like Rory Kinnear, including this digital effects nightmare that often haunts you when the Twilight baby has the day off. Reminds me of that movie Anomalisa, where nearly everyone was voiced by the guy who played Ray Fiennes in the first Red Dragon.
Want to play a game?
Stealing your lines from Jigsaw.
Locked the door, wouldn't let him back in.
This is the most ludicrous Malfoy-looking vicar I've ever seen in my life, and that's definitely a sin.
You must wonder why you drove him to it.
Absolutely no man in this movie is what we would call a good man. They're all assholes. In that regard, it reminds me of that movie Teeth that came out many years ago. Every single dude was a total jerk, so that the movie could give the audience a satisfactory quota of vagina chomping action. Here, we don't even get that.
Aren't these the questions you
Off!
Well, the situation calls for my extra strength chapstick. Here's another scene where the dandelion seeds get more screen time, this time falling into an empty eye socket of a dead deer. And later we'll get to see this deer infested with maggots. I gotta tell you guys, I've never been more inspired by the majesty of nature than in this very moment. Jesus, it's like I stumbled into a 1990s music video starring Live. Movie shows me a guy sticking a leaf in his forehead scar like that's supposed to make sense or be entertaining or give me a boner. While we watch this montage of nature unfold in front of us, this is a good reminder that the number of sins a movie has does not relate to its quality. Like, this may end up with the fewest sins since Jesus Christ, but that doesn't make the movie awesome or anything.
Will it be, miss?
Has she really not noticed that everyone is Rory Kinnear? Or are we in her dream and it just hasn't registered with her yet? Not immediately closing the curtains on all the windows when you feel you're being stalked.
I went for a walk, meet a boy in a churchyard who tells me I'm a stupid bitch. Then I meet a vicar who tells me that I drove James to himself.
Then she tells her friend that the police released the naked guy who was stalking her, and that's pretty much all that's happened in the first hour of this movie. This movie is one big cinema sin, with the title being exactly the type of sin we'd write, followed by an annoying ding.
Postcode is HL 893XR.
Zip codes are for numbers only, you silly Brits. Why do these postcodes sound like distant planets that the Guardians of the Galaxy frequently visit? I know we're stuck in some alternate reality, and she may not even be talking to Riley at this point, but the supernatural world is going to have to do better than this. Harper hears the chime and then sees the notification show up like 2 seconds later. Not immediately getting in your car and hauling ass back to London after this. Don't even pack. Just grab your shit and go. Don't pass go, don't collect 200, just drive. These falling apples represent the gravity of the situation Harper now finds herself in. Her world falling apart, all these stupid men closing in, attacking her sanctuary, trying to instill doubt and guilt. I warned you, didn't I? Warn you. After this, you're gonna get on the station. Everybody can provide power to the compound. If you say one more thing that's not a sin, you're going in the hole, inside the hole. Anyway, I was thinking maybe it's not the people who eat the apples who are the assholes, but the apples themselves.
What the hell is going on?
If someone knows that, Can they, like, get cast into the movie so they can explain it to us?
The policeman.
Harper. Have you not watched Hot Fuzz? He's a police officer.
After all, it's already happened once today, no?
Wait, that naked man incident happened today? Holy shit. I thought that was like at least a day or two ago. I wouldn't say time is exactly flying in this movie, but I didn't realize most of this movie happens all in a day.
You have precisely the qualities of a failed military man.
What?
Father told me that. I was only 7 years old.
I know this movie isn't taking place on planet Earth, but for fuck's sake, who just randomly quotes their father's harsh words to a stranger with no context until they're asked what the hell they meant by that?
Jeffrey?
Sped up.
Okay, so what the is this supposed to be about? Is it just supposed to be something unnerving? I have many questions for this movie, many of them revolving around the relationships between men and women and how Harper interacts with this male-dominated society, but quite a few of the questions are, what the is happening?
Whoever's out there, I don't know what you think you're playing at, but it's not going to sit well with me.
Using 20 words instead of just yelling off like any other self-respecting adult. Alright, also, I just want to know what these dandelion seeds mean for the movie, for Harper, for me, for the world, and for the cleaning job I'm gonna have to do when I rent this Airbnb to the next person. It's around this time I wouldn't mind Optimus Prime showing up, and I don't know, shooting something, giving us words of wisdom. Doesn't even have to be Optimus, it could just be a naked Peter Cullen talking about his OnlyFans. It would make just as much sense. You've got mail. I don't often say this, but this movie may officially be too weird to watch. Turning to investigate a new spooky noise instead of barricading yourself in a bedroom and waiting for daybreak. Not immediately stabbing your home invader in the face. In the face!
The broken wall, the burning roof and tower, and Agamemnon dead.
Going with Yeats for your creepy poetry instead of Poe or Dickinson.
These things now exist in my mind. This is your power. This is the control that you exert.
So, having watched this movie as closely as I can without getting thrown into the second hole, I've come to the conclusion that this movie is mainly about men who blame women for things that are completely out of their control so that the men can play victims when they're actually the source of the pain. I just feel like we could have covered that territory without being this goddamn weird. And we haven't even gotten to the multiple childbirth scenes yet.
I must be one that cannot win.
Holy shit, this dude is a fountain of famous poetry. Probably some team's secret weapon on trivia night.
This cave.
Hey man, if you want to call that a cave, that's your business. Don't make it mine.
This slit.
The current state of sex ed in our public school system.
It's the tip of a blade.
Not immediately using said blade to stab the man holding her dress in the face. In the face! She runs through the backyard, through the hedge, and then she's back in the house? Okay, I give up. Did this movie come with a cryptex so I can figure out how to watch it? That's the passenger side. Harper, in England. Oh, I get it now. This movie keeps intercutting her escape from the house with shots of her in the house so that it'll piss me off more. Not using the crosswalk. How far did this asshole drive down the road before he thought to himself, oh, I need to go back and run her ass over? Also, trying to run someone over is not something I would say Ford had in mind when they named this vehicle Fiesta. Dev Patel isn't hanging out with a talking fox in this scene. Basically, this is foreshadowing that the man he's been facing this whole time is her husband, because that's how his foot twisted when she saw his dead body earlier. These men, who all look the same, are wearing different masks, being hurtful in different ways. They're all her husband, but she hasn't been able to face this reality directly, so... Alright, you're stuck mapping the coal mine maze in Zork now. Here's your graph paper and your chair made of shards of glass. What you say next will determine if you get the shower of salt afterwards. This naked man represents nothing important, and this movie. We'll have to completely blur this, of course, because it's a vagina, but this starts a sequence of several Rory Kinnears giving birth to one another until finally, at long last, her dead husband pops out of one of them. I guess the idea is that dumbass men beget dumbass men, and it's a painful cycle with no end in sight, but also, it's super weird and gross. Is there a way to shower this out of my head when I'm done? No? So I'm scarred for life. And I'm gonna pass this on to my children? I feel like Alex Garland pitched this movie to Rory Kinnear like, hey, your character is going to give birth to himself a few times at the end of the movie and it still won't be the weirdest thing you've ever done on film. Ruining a perfectly good couch. So, Netflix and chill then?
Look at me, Harper.
Asking me to look at the screen again when I've spent the last several minutes crying and shaking in a corner. My support canary had to slap me 7 times to get me to snap out of it. Not knowing how to end your own movie and cutting it off in a random spot. Whoa, there's actual blood on the ground, like that from last night actually happened. Did Harper just murder a dude pretending he was her husband? The is this movie on? Surprise, surprise, her friend is pregnant, which means something. I think. Anyway, glad they solved that men problem at the end of this movie.
Men crazy.
Gotta have sweet, gotta have juicy fruit.
But I hate nature. I hate nature.
Hey! Hey!
Hello? Hello? Echo! 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 Pinch hitting for Pedro Borbon. Manny Mota.
Mr. Connors, you say this is your first lesson?
Yes, but my father was a piano mover, so.
Can you hear me now? Good.
Apple, apple, apple. I'd be impressed if I weren't so horrified.
I shouldn't have gone in there. Don't go in there. Promise me you don't go in there.
Look at my head, baby bonnet. I probably had children bonnet, maybe even several, who knows? They'll never see Papa again.
What is it that you want from me?
You need to.
More heroes!